Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I am beyond excited about our guest tonight. I am honored that she's taken the time to sit down and talk with me and answer your guys' questions. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with as well. Please welcome the one and only Rachelle Croft. Hi, Rachelle. How are you?
Good, Ashley. How are you? Thanks so much for
Doing-
having me.
Thank you so much for answering my message when I reached out to you and being able to come on. We've already got people commenting. So my friend Jennifer's saying hi, and Valerie's also saying hello.
Hey, ladies.
So
here.
So to start off, but for those who may not know, which I doubt there's few that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh boy. Well, I'll try to. I have a long version and a short version, so I'll just dive in.
Go for it.
My name is Rachelle Croft. I was born and raised in Montana. I live here now with my husband, Clay Croft, and we have 3 boys ranging from ages 16 to 11, and our dog, Piper. We, back in, 2010, had this idea for a new type of reality show. I hate even calling it a reality show because we wanted to start something completely different. We just learned about this thing called overlanding, and we were in the film industry. And I say that very lightly because we were like filming commercials in Bozeman and weddings and trying to pay the bills. Right. That was our film industry at the time. And Clay had just happened upon an Overland Journal at the local Toyota dealership. He borrowed it because we were dead broke at the time, and brought it home and was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know there was a name for this thing that I love to do called overlanding. And long story short, we decided to give it a go, see if we could create a show out of this. YouTube at the time didn't even allow videos longer than 8 minutes. So we actually started on Vimeo. Some of our OGs might remember that, following us all the way back there. Mm-hmm. So we've grown today with who we are. We've traveled the whole Pan American Highway, documented it. We have episodes out on our YouTube channel. We also have some episodes on Amazon Prime. And I, kind of on the side, but a side hobby, I don't know if you call it a hobby or not, but I fell in love with off-road rallying, especially for women. So in 2012, I took the plunge. I heard about this crazy rally in Morocco that was an all-women's rally. Mm-hmm. My youngest would have been, 1.5 at the time, like 18 months.
Right.
And I was just in a place where I needed something. Right. I was a very adventurous person and had been home a lot with the boys and heard about this thing. And I was like, well, let's see if we can make this happen. So off I went to Morocco, and
that's like, you are just what I completely understand. I have 2 kids at home too. I've got a 13-year-old and a soon to be 10-year-old who is enjoying rubbing in the fact that she's in her last year of her single digits. It's awful, but I get I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and it gets hard when you're always there and the kids are always there and you don't feel like you can get that break. So kudos to you. That's beyond amazing.
Thank you. It was phenomenal. Clay will tell you, I came home a completely different person because it was just I'd never done anything like that in my life. Mm-hmm. We spent a lot of the time just lost in the Moroccan desert, trying to figure out where we were and running into people who we didn't speak a lick of the language, and playing charades and figuring stuff out. And it was a blast. It was an amazing, amazing thing. And I just fell in love with it. So I did the Morocco Rally 3 times, total of 3 times.
Wow.
And then the Rebelle Rally, I've competed in 16, 19, 20, 3 times as well.
Okay.
So I worked it last year, so I didn't compete, but.
So are you still going to be doing the Morocco one as well, or no?
I'm not sure. I've thought about going back. There's a group of us, some amazing women that my last year in Morocco was 2015. Mm-hmm. And there was 10 US teams, and we really bonded. And a lot of them I still get to rally with in the Rebelle, but we've been talking about maybe going back one more time. It's such a taxing rally because it's unlike the Rebelle. You're not on roads a lot in Morocco because you can basically drive anywhere in this region.
Right.
So, and it's shortest distance wins. So if you
Okay.
see an open field full of rocks, you're driving over the rocks all day.
Oh no.
So it's 9 days of that type of stuff,
Okay.
with about 3 pretty intense sand dune driving days. So it's a commitment.
I can't imagine just driving like that for that long on that type of turf and just I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm okay. Your brain's gonna rattle loose at some point. So
Yeah.
so speaking of doing the Morocco Rally, what what skill sets do you think you've picked up from that to use for the Rebel?
Oh man, a lot of it honestly is mental skill sets.
Mhm.
And those skill sets that I learned in Morocco, I carried right over into filming with Expedition Overland as well.
Really?
Just the ability to be mentally tough and to break down those walls when you
Mhm.
feel like you can't go any longer. I don't want to have a good attitude anymore. And you
I'm
just
picturing my kids with this right now, so yes.
So that's the biggest thing I've learned is one, mental toughness, just how to utilize your time throughout the day. Time management is really important in these rallies. It's amazing how much time you'll waste staring at a map or getting all of the headings on your compass, and pretty soon you've wasted an hour of
Oh,
your day.
wow.
So time management, mental, and then of course just the driving skills as well. So all of that has helped a lot.
That's amazing. Well, Valerie's asking, how does one jump into the rally scene?
Yeah, great question. So there's a lot of women's rallies popping up even all over the world.
Mhm.
The Rebel Rally in the US is a great place to start and get your feet wet. A lot of the women that do it are new, and they offer a lot of good trainings online and within their Facebook group. So that's a great place to start. Morocco is an amazing experience. It's a lot more expensive, so it just takes a little longer to raise those sponsorships, but it's absolutely doable.
Okay.
And then I know there's like the Sonora Rally. I haven't done that one. I would love to. I haven't yet done like a fast-paced speed rally, and I would really love to do that. So
So watching you work it last year and reading up on the Rebel Rally, it's definitely something I'm interested in, but I just don't know if I'm there yet. I need the training. So that's where my
yeah,
fear is so far, but definitely something that I am keeping in the background for now.
yeah, and it's funny as women, the difference between women and men. Like men will just jump into it and fail, and
Right?
all of us are like, well, I need to like practice first, and I need to be
Yes.
sure I do this right and this right. And I will say it's like, yes, you want to have a good handle on navigation and how to pair those two in a moving vehicle. That's the other kind of piece to the puzzle.
Okay.
But at some point you do have to dive in because you will learn way more doing it than practicing and practicing and practicing. It's really one of those things where you gotta like rubber meets the road. So
No, I love it.
but dive in.
I I'm just gonna have to do it at some point. I'm just gonna
Yes,
say forget it
absolutely.
and just do it. Maybe convince you to drag me out there or something.
There you
I
go.
love it. So Jared's saying he's got some friends competing this year.
Oh, cool. Very
So
awesome.
that's exciting.
Yeah, they're gonna love it.
Donald, I'd settle for any rally at this point. Thomas is the
I hear
same.
you.
So Valerie's saying that she didn't know that they had training. She wants to drive better than her husband. I mean, who doesn't want to say that they drive better than their husbands with the bad rap that women get for driving?
I know it's tough, but you know what? The cool thing I've gotten to train a lot of women throughout the years, and women notoriously are usually better drivers because we're more patient,
Yes,
and we don't have that instant need for the adrenaline dump or the speed. Granted, there's women out there that do,
I'm a
but
little bit of one of those. I'm
I
just a little bit.
I can't deny it. So I mean, I learned this from Emily. I had the privilege of my very first training ever was with Emily and Rod Hall,
Mhm.
Baja legend, and him in the back seat, like telling me to fly up a dune, and it was fantastic. But overall, it's learning how to drive smart, and we teach this at X Overland as well. It's called vehicle sympathy driving, because
Okay.
at the end of the day, if you don't finish the rally, you're not going to get first or
Right.
second or third. You first have to finish. So if you learn to drive in a way that sympathizes your vehicle, you're not gunning it over jumps and breaking suspension and ripping bumpers off your car, it's going to take you a lot further. So a good first thing, if anybody wants to try, is left foot braking. That's how I drive 100% of the time, and it'll actually give you a lot more control over your vehicle. Unless you have a manual, it's a little more tricky with a manual.
I can see that one being a little difficult.
Yeah. And then practice your throttle control. Like I feel like almost everyone has an experience when they drive passenger with someone and you're like doing this all day, like, you know, so that's throttle control. You want a consistent, very smooth throttle. So
Right.
you're not flinging your passengers all over. So there's a couple things you can start doing right away.
Okay. I appreciate it. I might just have to be like, Rachelle, I'm going to need you to teach me some stuff so I can finally do this.
For sure.
So Jennifer's saying that her husband, Sean, wants to do one that she thinks is in Colorado. Is there a rally in Colorado?
I just know of like Pikes Peak, and that's like the really fast, really fast car rally. So I'm sure there's a lot. I am honestly I know like this much. So I'm not sure.
Oh, just a minute. You know how, everything. My husband is giving me grief. So we're just going to ignore him. He tells me all the time that I drive the 4Runner like a slot car around corners. I'm like, no, I just know how it handles, and you don't, because I drive it on a regular basis.
That's true. That's
so
true. You know it.
Yeah, he likes to give me a hard time constantly.
I love it.
Donald's saying his wife feels the same, but to be fair, he had to do a pursuit. Well, he's an ambulance driver, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He's probably got some good tricks up his sleeve.
Probably. So there you go. He talking about the manual.
Yep.
There you go. Donald's going to teach us how to do something. This is going to be awesome. I'm in. So are you going to be doing the Rebel Rally this year at the end of the year? Because
I honestly don't know yet. I'm waiting to hear from some of my partners at Lexus and Toyota to see if they have a cool new vehicle I get to drive.
Okay.
And it depends on our filming schedule with X Overland for the year as well. So as soon as I get those little details buttoned up, then I'll know. Okay. I'm hoping to. I really missed competing last year.
But you did such a great job with the, hosting it and working it, and you did awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was a great learning experience for me. I learned a lot.
AJ's saying hello.
Hey.
So another question with the Rebel. So I know one year you got a new partner and you guys you won, but you drove in a stock Lexus.
Yep.
Which is incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, we were in a stock Lexus GX 460. So kind of the Toyota Prado in rest of the world. And that came from, Emily had always said, anybody can drive the vehicle that's in your driveway through the Rebel. That's what that course is created to do, if you know how to drive it smart. And man, there was some areas we took that car through that I was like, what? We should not be here. And it did it. It did it great. Slow is pro.
That's right. Say slow and steady always wins the race. At least that's what you're taught growing up. So do you change your vehicle every year, or do you have one specifically set aside?
Yeah, you can do it either way. Some girls come, a lot of girls, this is their daily driver. And the first time I competed in the Rebel, I used my daily driver, which was a 2008 Toyota Land Cruiser at the time.
Okay.
So it was my grocery getter, kid hauler, and I went and pinstriped the crap out of it.
Yes. I love it. I've done that with mine. My 4Runner is my daily driver too. So it's got some stripes on it now. Yeah. So Donald's asking, your contact with Toyota or Lexus, could it possibly be the new 4Runner? Tate's wondering if it could be the new Sequoia that you're going to be running.
Oh, yeah, there's I will say there's a few options, so I'm not sure which one it's going to be. I know which one I want it to be.
Which one do you want it to be?
I would love to take that new LX 600 for a spin.
That one's nice. I will say though, the new Sequoia they're
Yeah,
pretty looking.
that thing is pretty sweet. The clearance issue, I mean, it's a big car and with not a lot of clearance, so it would be kind of resemblance of the GX
Right.
460. Obviously, it's a lot bigger, but it would definitely be a challenge if we took it stock for sure. But it would absolutely do it, no problem.
Just put a big enough lift on it, and it'll be fine. It'll be good. Well, it'll be stock other than the lift. Just there you go. Yeah. So one question I have for you. You are a huge face for women in this community. How do you manage your time being a mom, running this business while being this face and staying so grounded? I met you, we were just talking about a little bit ago. I met you back in February at More Expo last year and was completely blown away with just how down to earth you and Clay are. You guys took the time to walk around my 4Runner. You gave me pointers. Granted, some of those pointers didn't stick and it's changed. But just amazing people to just sit down and take that time to talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, man, so it's a lot. I've done a lot of personal growth work. I've been in counseling for many years. Some people might know my story. I ran a campaign on it one year in Morocco, but I came from, I was sexually abused for about 9 years as a child.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was a whole set of issues I was not anticipating. When you get married and you're like, oh yeah, I guess this is creeping up. Let's deal with this. So Clay and I both individually and together have done a lot of counseling. We've done a lot of, even in college, we met in high school and dated since high school. So we've been best friends forever. And even there, we did a lot of leadership trainings and I've always loved the personal growth space, excuse me. So that's one part of it. And I don't have it all figured out. I had to throw the balanced life idea out the window completely with our lives and just had to accept that our life looks a lot different than a lot of people's, and that is okay. I am not the mom that volunteers at school functions. I get out of that stuff as quickly as possible.
I highly recommend it. I did that for years. Don't do it. You're setting yourself up for failure.
I'm totally the mom on the first day. I'm like, can I bring cookies tomorrow and be done? Done. Okay, I'm out. I just don't have time. I love you, but I don't have time.
Right.
And little things over the years, to be tangible with your answer. I have an amazing, I make sure every 2 weeks, at least my toilets and my kitchen is cleaned from an amazing house cleaner in Bozeman. Cause I was like, I don't want to be doing this on Friday night. I'd rather be hanging out with my family on Friday night.
Right.
So I'm all about asking for help. You have to get help.
I love the brutal honesty of you're like, every 2 weeks I get the bathroom and the kitchen cleaned really good so we can start all over.
Yeah. And then our kids help a lot, especially as they get older. We function as a family this is our family business and everybody has a role. And even if your role is doing dishes after dinner, that's part of it. So we try to instill that ownership in our kids from a young age.
Right.
And we tell them everything about our business, the decisions we're making, what's happening. Whether they like it or not, I don't know. I know the youngest one does. But hopefully some of that information will stick.
I love it. Well, yeah. Lee's commenting that you're the real boss. Clay just is pretending to be. He just really, really wishes that he was the boss. Donald's next comment, we all know that married men know that we're the boss. It's definitely true. My theory is I tell my husband, you may wear the pants, but I wear the pants, shorts, and skirts, so I can wear it all.
That's awesome.
And he's got nothing to say to it. It's hilarious.
I love it. I always think of My Big Fat Greek Wedding when they're like, the men is the head, but the women is the neck.
I like that too. I used to love that movie. It's hilarious. So more Couple of our favorite
Thanks.
Off-roaders. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
So Valerie's wanting to know, how do you navigate risk versus reward? It's obviously different for everyone when you achieve some incredible things without being reckless.
Oof, that's a really good question. That's a question that's different for every single person on this planet. I mean, you have to know, I think I'll maybe answer this in two sections here. So first thing is, women, a lot of times, at least I had to learn this, I had to learn how to retrust my gut instinct. Especially in America, our culture is that, especially my age growing up, it was, you are just supposed to be nice to everybody.
Right.
And maybe children are seen and not heard. And so over time, it's as growing up, you kind of like learn to tamp that gut instinct out and replace it with politeness in some instances. So for me, I had to relearn how to trust my gut instinct. And there was years going to Morocco it was really hard on our family. It was really hard on our business, but I just couldn't explain that. I knew in my gut, I really needed to do it. And I'm not a reckless person by nature. I'm pretty calculated, and I don't like being a nuisance for people that like, it's something I have to work through on a consistent basis. Like, I don't want to put people out. I don't want to, I just don't want to be a nuisance. I don't want to bring more trouble. But in my gut, when I get those feelings of like, I know that this is something deep down I just really need to do, and that feeling won't leave me alone.
Right.
You make you can research it, make a smart decision. Obviously you don't just go blow it on a whim, and if it's not good for your family with the responsibilities you have. But yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if I answered your question. I'm trying. That's a tough question.
No, you're perfect. So my husband's saying that you gave some great family advice. Donald's saying he can't wait for his to start being able to contribute because they're 4 and 1. So Josh, I love him. I'm just here to get you to talk about Rams instead of Yodas. He drives a big power wagon. It is great when seeing this full-size truck go hit the trails with us. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. I love Clay's Ram. It is big, but man, that 4-wheel camper on it is just, I feel very spoiled. Like, right?
I can see that.
Oh, it's so comfortable. I love pulling up, and you're just like, I'm just going to open my door and walk into my camper. I spent a lot of nights in rooftop tents, so I'm like, meh, I'm going to stay in the camper.
Right? I'm saying I want air, heating, cooling, whatever. I'm tired of having to figure it out differently.
Yes. There's a place for all that.
Exactly. So Donald's making fun of, he wears the pants, but his wife picks him out, to my statement earlier about my husband. Arla's saying hi. So Valerie's saying wise words. Thanks for getting deep with her.
Anytime, girl.
She's good at those questions. So everyone knows the Expedition Overland vehicles. Those are, you could spot those from a mile away. But like, what is your daily driver now, and what have you done to it?
Yeah, so now I have a 2013 Toyota Land Cruiser. Sorry, not a Ram.
Sorry, Josh.
I swapped out I had a 2008. That was the one I had in the first Rebel Rally. Mm-hmm. And I got it up to like 184,000 miles on it, which is still a baby in the world. And I saw this deal come up. It was actually in Billings for a 2013 Land Cruiser. It had 100,000 less miles on it. And I basically just made a clean swap because it was completely stock and mine was already kind of built up.
Right.
So we started from scratch on this one. And it's more of like, I like stealthy rigs. Like mm-hmm. I'm very opposite of Clay in this area. I don't like gadgets. I don't like things. I like things very clean, and I like the undercover vehicles that maybe at first glance you don't think very much of. So we just put 33-inch General tires on it, of course, the ATXs. I love the all-terrains. They do really well all year round. I'm in snow and ice here in Montana.
Right.
And then we added some Icon suspension to it. I believe we did the 3.5s.
Okay.
The Delta arm. And then he installed, I can't take credit for any of this, by the way. I didn't. That's another one of my like time.
We don't tell people that.
But, yeah. So I help when I can, but this one I did not help. And then so it's got an air compressor in it under the hood. Clay wired in a ham radio for me.
Okay.
And he put it in the, the little like sunglass holder.
Yeah.
So it's in that, so I can close it and tuck it away.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want a big old radio in my car. And let's see, I think that's about it for that so far. I have some other plans, but it needs a bumper. But
okay. Well, and I get what you're saying about the stealth mode. I don't know if you remember my 4Runner, but it's completely blacked out. So it's just, it just looks mean just walking up to it. Mike and Lee were giving me such a hard time during more because it was so shiny, but I had spent a lot of time waxing it before the show, trying to hide the pinstriping. But I love it. I like the stealth. I like let the car speak for itself.
Yep.
And what you can do. So it's fantastic. So when working Expedition Overland, your guys' plans, how long does it take from the time that you guys pick your destination to when you guys are finally releasing your videos?
That's an awesome question. It's usually a year minimum. So all of the Alaska stuff you're seeing on YouTube now, we started working on that actually November of 2020.
Okay.
So it takes, we pick a place where we want to go. Our fundraising starts in the beginning of the year usually. So that's what I'm in the middle of right now, is lots of proposals and contracts and all that fun stuff.
Okay.
And then we get everything set for the year. This is the plan. This is where we're going, what we're doing. And then we film for Alaska. We filmed that, July, August. And then immediately the guys get home and it's post-production. So we worked 3 to 4 months of post-production editing all those episodes. And then you finally see them released in January.
So how was it with your son getting to go this time?
Oh my gosh, it was awesome. I was so excited for him. Yeah, he was a little nervous because we basically were like, you're going because this is going to be an amazing experience for you.
Right.
And he's, up until this point, he's been like our homebody. He's firstborn, so he's very cautious and wants to play it safe. And we were like, you don't have a choice. You're going to go and you're going to love it.
I love it. So
shut up and have fun.
You know what? My son's the same way, super cautious. And it's so funny because he's 13. And I was like, hey, bud, I'll give you the 4Runner when you turn 16. I'll give you mine. And he's like, no, Mom. I was like, dude, do you know how cool you will be pulling up at school with this lifted 4Runner with the big bumper and all this? He's like, I don't want it. He's just, what? I don't want to touch it. He's like, this is your dream car, so I don't want to take it from you. I was like, I'll get a new one. It's okay. I'll start over. We'll change whatever you don't want. And he does not want this car. So he's so sad because it's hilarious.
That's awesome. But yeah, he's
got to get out there. He's got to get out there and just do it.
You got to go out there. And Cyrus ended up having an amazing time. He learned a ton. He came home a completely different young man.
Oh,
has just not stopped. So he's actually, he works for us after school every day. He comes in and he's learning how to edit now. So he works about 2 to 3 hours in the office editing on small projects right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So talking about Alaska, I have to know, because your first series that I saw freaked me out. How bad are the mosquitoes, honestly?
Oh, okay. That first season, the mosquitoes were horrendous. They were horrible. But this last season, so our first time when we went in June. And we were told by the locals that it was like the worst year in 10 years for mosquitoes because they had such a wet winter and spring.
Okay.
On top of them already being bad, we somehow hit the worst. But this last time, so when Clay went, I was like, how were the bugs? He's like, they weren't bad, because they went end of July, August, and said that they were much better at that point. But man, at some point you really have to dig deep, and you're like, you know what? I can't beat them. I'm going to join them. And this is just how it is. And you get really, really fast at zipping and climbing and zipping it closed. And you're like, I only got like one.
But watching your guys's, and I'm just going to say antics with trying to avoid the mosquitoes was hysterical, but like terrifying at the same time to see the amount of bugs. And I was like, man, Alaska's on my list and I just don't know that I want to go now. I've got a friend in Anchorage who's trying to convince me to come. And I've asked him and he's like, I'll just tell you the mosquitoes are the state bird. I was like, that's not helping my situation at all. I was like, it's not making me want to go.
So you could go later in the year and it's just colder, but no bugs.
I mean, I'll figure it out.
Say the Alaska beauty does trump the mosquitoes because it was really incredible. It's an incredible place.
It's on my list to go. I want to, I want to go take the kids up there and see the glaciers and everything, but I just don't know about those mosquitoes.
I know. Just pour on the DEET.
Just pour on the DEET.
Just do it.
It's fantastic. Okay, so another Expedition Overland question I have that's been driving me crazy. What is with you guys and Taylor Swift? Every series, it's Taylor Swift at some point.
Because she's amazing.
I can't. So I'm not gonna lie, I did not picture Clay and them doing it with like. I thought maybe it was just you that was like the whole Taylor Swift thing, and so like when Clay's like, okay, they're referencing Taylor Swift and you're not around. I was like, okay, so it's not Rachelle. It's Clay. Clay is obsessed with Taylor Swift.
They completely started it. It started in Central America in 2015, and that was the year she released the 1989 album. And so, I mean, you're in those cars a long time. You're driving a lot,
right,
to make ground. And the guys, so for whatever reason, they were all listening to the new Taylor Swift album. And they just kept playing it, and then they were quoting it, and then they'd sing it to each other, and it just became the thing. And I was like, I love it that none of the girls were here, and this is what you guys chose,
right?
And even when I flew in and I helped them drive all the rigs back up. That's what Jeff and I listened to in the 4Runner all the time was the new Taylor Swift album.
I love it. So when we did our week-long expedition that we took as a family back in July, I had set a playlist and I'd put some Taylor Swift on it. My husband's like, no. I was like, no, it is a requirement to Overland that you listen to Taylor Swift. I was like, Clay and Rachelle said so. And he's like, fine, sitting in the passenger seat. He's like, is
really good?
He just throws, he's like, no, it's not happening. But he's telling us that we have to go to Montana first before we can go to Alaska. So apparently we might be in your guys' area. Awesome.
Yes. Especially I would say beginning of July. We haven't had good snowpack the last couple of years. So we're getting fire season earlier and earlier, which really sucks.
Right.
But if you come too early in June, sometimes you might still have probably rain or snow. So like end of June, beginning of July is usually a good sweet spot.
Okay. I'm sure he's taking notes right now. I have no doubt he's taking notes. So what's like your favorite vehicle to drive right now? Is it your daily driver or is it one of the ones that you've got built up?
I'd say my daily driver.
Your daily driver?
Yeah. I love spending time. I'm in that car a lot, driving children around, although not as much because Cy has his license now. So he's running all my errands for me.
I've told my son, he's like, I can't wait to drive. I was like, do you realize mommy's going to be going, you got to go get bread. I need you to run to the store. I need you to do this. True. He's like, I don't care. I was like, okay, we'll see.
It's the best. It's the best. Yeah, that's probably my favorite. Although I really love the 5th gen 4Runners so much. So it's kind of a toss up between those.
Well, you and I had talked about my tires. We were talking about the general tires, yours, what you're running and what Clay runs on the expedition vehicles. And as soon as I get my tires swapped out, the 4Runner is just hands down my favorite vehicle. So I understand that one.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
So one question for you that I've got that I typically ask everybody is, what is your advice for women overlanders, people who are wanting to get in, just people who've been in for a while, still just not feeling confident in themselves?
Yeah, man, it's been really cool to see how many women have come into the space, even since I started.
Mhm.
I remember going to Expo West in like 2012. It was my first one. And I swear I could count the amount of women on one hand. And I was one of them. Like it was just, they were not around.
Right.
And every year it was like that number doubled.
Mhm.
And so with that being said, there's so many awesome platforms I've seen, and women like yourself even stepping up and being like, hey, there's more of us out here. Do you want to hang out?
Right.
And so my first advice is to like find the forums. The Ladies Off-Road Network is a great place with Charlene Bauer. She does a great job at connecting women. Hop on some Facebook groups and just see who's in your area if you want to go together.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, you can go with your husband, you can go with your boyfriend, you can grab a friend and just start. If you want to start going, just start exploring a little bit around your local areas. You know, get out a paper map and just look at it. You'd be amazed at the things you see and you're like, hey, let's go. I kind of want to drive up to this waterfall and check it out.
Right.
You know? And if you get to a place where it's beyond your expertise, turn around, go home. I would say it's very, very helpful to learn just, you want to be very smart and learn a few basic recovery things, which is, I mean, a set of max tracks. A lot of people, you can throw those in the back of your car, have a first aid kit with you, have food and water, and let people know where you're going. But start by taking those little steps, or find a campground, you know, that you want to stay at maybe, and grab a friend and be like, do you want to, it doesn't have to be cold and windy and rainy. Like it can be a beautiful summer night and you just want to go have a fire and hang out. And if you don't want to spend the night, go home and
Right.
sleep in bed. Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with sleeping in your bed at all. It's fantastic.
Yeah, just see what's comfortable for you. It doesn't have to be, it can be whatever you want it to be. So
I agree, 100%. It is what I always tell everybody is just go out there and try it. You're more, you could do more than you realize. It's just a mindset. And when you've accomplished it, you look back and go, I just did that. I just did that. And I can't believe I just did it, but it's done.
yes.
And then you get addicted and go down the rabbit hole and you're doing all sorts of stuff.
That's the best thing is I see it constantly, because it happens to me and it still happens to me, of you do something you don't think you're capable of and you get through it. Even if you do it wrong, even if you make mistakes, you come out the other side and you're like, oh yeah, I just did that.
Yeah.
It might have taken me like 5 hours, but I got it done.
Right.
You know,
and I did it.
One.
Exactly. But you still got out there and you still did it and you still challenged and pushed yourself, and you're stronger for it every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Alex's quick tangent. Are you guys doing another Overland Film Festival?
Yes, we are, Alex. We actually just had a meeting about that last week. You will be very excited to hear that. We are going to be announcing that very soon. Hopefully, what did we decide? Beginning of March, I believe we'll be announcing that. And we will give you more time to make those films this year than we did.
That's awesome. So Alex and Valerie, you guys had done a teaser for, I want to say it was the Baja series, and you guys had done some quotes in your intro. I don't even know how my husband came across it, but you guys actually quoted Alex and Valerie from their Instagram, some comment that they had made on one of your posts. And my husband had, like I said, he came across it and we kept shoving the phone in my face going, watch this. And I'm like, I'm looking at like X Overland and I'm going, what? So he'd repeat it and then tell me to do it again. And I was just like, I'm not seeing it. So finally he would pause it and he's like, look. And I was like, oh, I know them. So it was, was great.
Curious, what quote was it?
The Stoke is real. Valerie just commented with it, but it was so funny.
That's great.
My husband with our comments about, women overlanders. If you don't get out there, you don't get to participate in any overland shenanigans.
You gotta have stories to tell around the campfire, and if you don't get out, you don't have any stories. So
oh yes, and there are always stories to tell.
Yes, there is.
I love this. Thank you so much, Crystal. That were both very encouraging for women starting out in this.
Awesome.
Alex
Yeah,
is saying
we
he
need
needs more time. He need more time before you guys do this film
We'll have more
festival.
time to share, I promise.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. So what are your long-term goals?
Oh man,
I know, hard questions.
I know. I ask myself this every day. I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
especially on the women's side, because I'm so busy with EXO.
Right.
It's over a full-time job at this point. And I've at the same time that's been going on and we've been building this, I've neglected like the women's side of things, which I really want to do. I always wanted to teach classes and do women's weekends and do a little more. I want to do go to some rally schools and learn more in that area. So that's always been a long-term goal of mine, is to build out the Excels into a community that I can offer those classes to women who are just getting into it and create a safe space for women in that way. And yeah, I mean, the ideas are endless. I've got all the ideas. I just
Well, sign me up and I will help you any way that you need,
awesome.
because I
will
am
need all
rocking your Excel patch on the roof of the Forerunner, and it's
Awesome.
yes. So
Thank you.
I will help out anytime.
I will need all the help.
Just give me a call and I will be there.
Awesome.
Your classes, everything.
Awesome.
So with you saying that your schedule is so hectic, and X Overland is so huge, how do you find time to relax for you?
It's also a great question, Ashley. Man, my best friend has been really on me about this lately, because I went through a season. We were transitioning from employees to hiring more employees, and that meant that Clay and I were picking up the load a lot. And so there was about 3 months that went by, and we were wearing a lot of hats, more than we normally do. And she was like, "Dang it, did you schedule that dang massage yet?" And I was like, "No." And so I can now say I have tried to take Fridays, and they're just my personal day if I can. So I prioritize, it's on my calendar that I'm out of office on Fridays. If you really need something, they can get a hold of me, which I'm trying to get better about that as well. But I schedule a massage or facial, or wander around Target with Starbucks in my hand,
Target is so dangerous. You cannot walk out with nothing.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
And then I've got an awesome group of girls that we met. We all met each other a couple years ago online, and we try to do like 2 trips a year, where we overland in Utah or go hang out or rent an Airbnb, just to be out in the industry and not having to work in the industry. We can just go enjoy it. That's awesome. Been really, really good.
My husband's screaming that you just need to take more coffee breaks, because I do know, like, you get pretty fancy with your coffees.
I do.
On your Instagram.
I do. I used to manage a coffee shop. I was a barista and I loved it. So it's my thing. I make coffee for everybody at my house, and Clay gets one every morning. So
I love it. There was one episode where I had a guest on and she said she didn't drink coffee. And I told her, I was like, we can't be friends. If you don't drink coffee, we can no longer associate. It's just coffee is life.
I agree. Like 3 different coffee machines between like the shop and the house, and we do a lot of coffee.
Hey, I am sitting here drinking Starbucks at almost 9 o'clock at night.
Nice
so
work.
Yeah, I mean, so how do you keep your boys engaged though when you're traveling, when they're with you? Because I mean, I know that you've got 3 and I've got 2, and I don't always want them on electronics. I want them to be engaged. So how do you keep them engaged?
So we give them all jobs. Just like when we're out filming with our team, everybody has a role and a job. And there's a lot of reasons we do that, but mostly we saw over the years when we didn't do that, people would get really insecure that they weren't working hard enough or doing what they were supposed to do, and they couldn't take ownership of anything. So we took the same approach with our kids. So if we're camping, everybody has a job, whether that's you're finding wood for the fire, or your job is to unpack this and set up the chairs or break down the chairs. And depending on ages, I mean, kids of all ages can do quite a quite a few things.
Right.
Even a 4-year-old, you can tell them to go gather you sticks like this, that you need for fire starter.
Right.
So we start them off like that from a young age. Now, obviously they're older, so they're into, like, my middle son likes to cook. So he likes to help cook, and they either do dishes or they all set up their tents. They all break them down. They pack their own bags. So if they don't have something, that's on them, and they probably won't forget it next time because I can't oversee everything, and I won't be there forever to make sure that they don't forget things. So we,
even as adults, you forget stuff.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. We did a rendezvous in the Ozarks in October and forgot lanterns. Luckily, we were right next to what just happened to be a lamppost, and we had enough light, but oh my gosh, I was crushed. I was like, how are we going to see if it wasn't for that? So
yeah. There's always something you forget, right? And at the end of the day, that's when we're like, well, we're not out here curing cancer. We're camping, and it's really okay. It's not the end of,
right. So Alex is wondering, what's your coffee style when you guys camp? Pour over?
Yeah, we do a lot of French press, actually. It depends if it's just like me and Clay or if it's the whole team. So if it's the whole team, it's a lot of French press coffee because we go through it so fast.
Right.
And if it's just Clay and I actually, have you seen the little, what's it called? Shoot. It's like the little espresso in a tube, and you pump it.
No, I have no.
And it actually makes shots of espresso. Oh, that's going to bug me. I'm going to remember at like 4 a.m. this morning.
You are, and I'm going to get a message in the middle of the night going, this is what it's called.
I can see it in my head. Somebody's going to know. So I'll do that for Clay and I. It takes like the little Nespresso little pods.
Okay.
It's really good coffie.
Valerie's calling it an AeroPress.
No, it's not an AeroPress. Keep Googling.
Keep Googling. So Sean's wanting to know, what's your preferred and standard cook stove? Coleman, the Jetboil. I've seen you use the Scottle.
Yes. Oh, I love the Scottle. So I think our first season, I've tried a lot of stoves, and my favorite, I would say, would be the Cook Partner.
Okay.
Which I know is more expensive, but man, that thing is just a workhorse, and it just works. The other one, I love the Coleman stoves. I used that for years. It always worked great.
I'm gonna say I have the Jetboil Genesis, and it's amazing, and I love how it packs down really small to allow more space and storage.
I have to switch between cooking for like 8 people or cooking for myself. So
right.
For me, it's just the Jetboil. I actually go I hardly ever cook.
I love it. So Alex is harassing you, saying Nespresso, you fancy.
I am fancy. Life's too short to drink bad coffee.
I agree. AJ's asking you, how often do you take Piper, your dog?
We take her every weekend we're camping in Montana. She's coming with for sure. We can't take her on the film trips because it's too much. We have too much going on. But she's I call her my black shadow. She's my shadow. She goes with me everywhere.
I love it.
Taking her. Mini Presso. That might be it.
That might be it?
Yes, that's it. Yes, the Mini Presso.
So Alex found it. So everybody go find it in the comments. There's the link for it.
Really great.
So what is your must-have item in your toolkit for every trip?
Like toolkit, like car toolkit.
Car toolkit.
Okay. Duct tape. And zip ties.
I was not prepared for that at all. That's hilarious.
That's my rally answer because I fix everything with zip ties and duct tape very quickly. But for overlanding, zip ties probably for sure my go-to. Oh man, a good multi-tool, zip ties, and I know I'm forgetting something really important, and I probably sound really dumb. And I can't think of it.
I don't know. I'm still stuck on the duct tape. I was not prepared for duct tape. I just see like the little cars that have had collision damage and they're duct taping their bumper on. That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, you can. So that comes from just being with other rally drivers, like legit rally drivers, like Chrissy Beavis, and she drove with like Travis Pastrana, and they were always like duct tape. Oh, ratchet straps. That's my go-to. Duct tape, ratchet straps, and zip ties. You can like put a car back together. So one of my cars was horrible in Morocco, and Nicole Patel from Total Chaos actually made me a new like CV boot out of duct tape and like refilled it full of grease and popped it on up there, and I was able to drive the rest of the way to Spain. So
That's
you
insane.
do a lot with those things.
Well, I would say Alex is saying you can repair a blown transmission with duct tape and zip ties.
There you go. See?
My husband's saying you're not an overlander without zip ties. I think I have more zip ties on my car than what I know what to do with. Valerie's saying that's badass. You know, she was able to do that.
I was in awe. I was just like, wow.
Right?
There's so much I don't know. It was amazing. Yeah.
And you can't use your cell phone, so you couldn't video that for everybody else to see.
No. Yeah.
That's
true.
That's awful. Okay, so what's your must-have camping item?
Ooh. Oh man. I just have to pick one.
No, go for it. Go for the full list.
Okay. So my go-tos that are like I just always keep it packed in a little bag in my closet so I can grab is headlamp, a good pillow.
Okay.
Because I need to sleep good.
Right.
A really good sleeping bag, like comfy sleeping bag. Obviously, you need a sleeping bag.
Right.
And my tinkle bell, so I can stand up when I pee, because when you travel with a lot of dudes, it comes in very handy. And let's see. I think that's about it. Those are always in my camp kit. Just it's what I grab first. Pocket knife and a pocket knife.
Got it. I keep one of those in the Forerunner at all times.
Yep.
Okay, so we know you make a lot of tacos.
I do make a lot of tacos.
You make a lot of tacos when you're camping.
Dude, don't I?
I'm not judging. It's perfect. If it goes on a tortilla is like the greatest thing ever to take on camping. They don't take
dishes.
Right. There's no dishes. Everything can go in it, and it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it doesn't get squished.
Yep.
So what is some advice or recipes that you would give for your tacos?
Okay. So one of my favorite things to do is I'll go to Costco and get like the pork tenderloins that they have in like a 2-pack or whatever. And I'll actually, if I have time, I'll pre-grill them and sear them and season them to like rare. And then when I get to camp, I'll throw them on really quick and chop them up, and I'll put that into tacos.
Okay.
And then in the morning, you can throw that in your scrambled eggs and have a breakfast burrito if you'd like to talk about it with no dishes. So that's one of my favorites. It doesn't get dried out. It just feels like it's elevated a little more than ground beef.
Right.
It doesn't dry out like chicken. So that's my go-to. And then, of course, steak, because I love steak.
Right. I mean, who wouldn't like steak? Jared's saying tacos are a camping staple. I agree. More times than not, that's probably our menu when we go camping is tacos.
Yep.
So big question for you now.
Okay.
What is your biggest challenge that you face being a woman in a male-dominated community?
Oh, man. I think just people not taking me seriously is always a challenge.
Right.
Whether that be in business or even on the trail, and you run into people and they just kind of glance over you and you're like, well, obviously she can't do that, you know?
Right.
Watch me.
Right.
That's probably the biggest challenge is I don't do well being talked down to or looked over. But man, the industry has grown a lot over the years, I will say, with more women coming into it. And I've never been the like, I don't know, men are horrible and women rule and all that, because I love guys. They're fantastic and I have amazing men in my life. But at the same time, there are definitely challenges in this industry. Yes. So I won't pretend it doesn't exist. It absolutely does. And I've definitely dealt with my share of that, of sometimes the email needs to come from Clay and not me, unfortunately,
Right.
from both of us. That's getting a lot better.
Good.
So I would say that's the biggest challenge, is just, not being taken seriously.
I can understand that one. It is hard. When I first got my 4Runner and started building it up, everyone thought it was my husband's.
Yep.
So I literally put my Instagram name in rose gold on the car.
That's awesome.
Just so people, I'm like, it's pink. How can you assume that and it says girl, how can you assume that's my husband?
I get it. I mean, for the general population, it would be assumed that it would be a guy,
right.
so I get it. But on the other hand, it's like, don't write me off just because it's maybe not the norm.
Right. That just, it pushes you more, or at least it does for me, pushes me more to prove that I can do it when you thought I couldn't.
For sure. Yeah. It's definitely fuel to the fire in a good way.
Definitely. I love it. So how does it make you feel seeing that this community has grown so much and more welcoming to women in the environment?
It's incredible. It's really, I say awesome a lot, but it's really awesome.
But it's true, because, and a lot of us, or at least myself, we look at you and, you've been a huge inspiration for all of us. I didn't know who you were a couple of years ago. I did my first overlanding event, got stuck, was completely stuck, and completely tore up my tires because I didn't know what I was doing. And after that, my husband introduced me to Expedition Overland, and I'm like, she's out there and she's doing this, and she's a amazing inspiration. And then getting to meet you last year just kind of sealed it for me. But definitely someone that I look up to, and I'm sure a bunch of other women, applaud you and do the same. So thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Yeah, and if I could offer encouragement to anybody, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but we're so afraid to get out and make mistakes. And I get that, especially in a, more male dominated area. It's really embarrassing to put yourself out there and make a mistake in front of guys when you want to prove that you can do it. So I try really hard to always be teachable, because there's still a lot of things I don't know. And I feel like even if you're out there and you're failing, there's a lot of great guys out there that really have good hearts and they do want to help. But I also understand that it's really nice to learn from other women and to just kind of have that safe space where you feel like maybe you can fail a little easier in front of other women. So I get it either way. Just, if I could encourage you, don't let that stop you if you haven't found that space yet. And if you ask for help, get out there and try it, to someone you trust. Obviously there's guys you don't want to learn from. Maybe your husband is one of them. Or boyfriend, learn from a friend you get along with, but there are really good guys out there. Until there's more women out there that we can teach more people. So
I feel like you just kind of threw Clay under the bus there about, you don't want to help with your husband.
He's an awesome teacher. He'll say the same thing. It's funny because if I have questions or a mechanical question, a lot of times I would go to Jeff or Tanner, be like, can you show me how to do this? And Clay in turn would ask somebody else to help him with something, but we're pretty good now, but we definitely have I don't want to learn from you right now.
Right. I mean, we all have those. And it's just, I think you work together so much just on your day-to-day lives that you're like, I don't want to learn this from you too, or I don't want you to explain it to me. But I loved the fact that you're like, sometimes we don't want to learn from our husbands. It's definitely true. It's great. And since he's not here to defend himself right now, we get to pick on him. So
I know, poor guy. He's such a great guy. He would agree. He'd be like, man.
I know. So Valerie, Sony, thank you so much for all that you do for female overlanders. Jared with Oscar Mike Overland, thank you again for everything that you've done and for supporting them. My husband's saying, amazing words. I know that we're coming to a close, but I did find that there's a new source of information, or at least to me. I've been looking into Overlanding Network. Can you tell us some more about that?
Oh yeah, the Overland Network. Yes, so that is another big project we have embarked on this past year. So it's the first time we are taking our content to a behind the paywall, like subscription platform. And it doesn't stop with our content. Our content will be a very small piece of that in the future. So we are gathering other storytellers and creators to create content for this space because we want to take what we learned with XO. There's amazing people out there telling amazing stories all over the world. We're only two people. We can't get out and do everything, and we don't need to. There's incredible people out there who will do it better than we do. So we wanted to create a place where we can show all of that, all those amazing films and people out there living and doing it. So that's hence the Overlander Network. And that's why it's called that and not just Expedition Overland. So XO will live under there. But in the future, it's going to have a lot of really cool shows. I have all kinds of ideas. It's going to be really fun. It's going to take, we're building it slowly. So, and thank you anybody that jumped on with us during our early launch in September. That was so key to just helping us get going. And it's scary to it's scary to ask every time we take a risk, especially when you get your audience involved to take that risk with you. So that means a lot to us that so many people were so supportive. Big things are coming. We're getting into apps and having it more accessible on more devices. So that's a big thing we're working on right now.
I love it. Well, before we sign off, I want you to, if you can or feel like it, share your social media handles with everyone who may not be following you currently, but want to find out more about your story and, may possibly reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is Rachelle_Croft. I think there's an underscore in there. Rachelle Croft on Instagram, or the XLs. I'm not super active on the XLs right now, just because I'm not in rally season. So it kind of comes and goes, and eventually it'll get more consistent. Facebook is the same, Rachelle L. Croft, and X Overland on all social media platforms as well.
Perfect. Well, again, when it comes to the XLs, if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll help out any way that I can. I fully support everything you're wanting to do with the women classes and embrace more with that community. Thank you so much, Rachelle, for being on the show. I have absolutely enjoyed this and didn't do the whole fangirl thing that I thought I was going to do.
But thank you for having me. You did fantastic.
Thank you.
Questions. It makes it a lot easier. So thank you.
You're welcome. I hope I can have you back on at some point.
For sure.
Maybe before your next rally or,
yeah,
here soon. We're going to have you back on. But thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and sign off. Everyone, thank you guys for joining, for your comments. It's been a blast. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.